All right, hey traders, this is Christian Farmer at Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Friday, December 20th, the end of the week. So this will be your quick end of day and end of week video. These are my favorite videos of the week, especially when we have a week like we had this week and the week before that. And the week before that, it's been one hell of a move, right? The last few weeks. So of course, everything that we're going through in the video for information purposes only, not giving out any recommendations or advice. So let's get into today. So really quick, today quadruple witching, as expected, volume huge today, both on the open and on the close. Remember what transpired on the open, which is what we were going over in the room, and I went over in yesterday's free public video. Uh, the futures expired on the open, right? I'll tell you, so this used to be something that I used to do on an institutional trading desk. Is I used to be the ones who be one of the traders who were pushing the buttons and putting these orders on the open. I can't remember, and my memories is not the best. I tend to kind of forget dates and so forth, but I don't remember. I think the market on open, which is called MU, by the way, just very similar to MOC, right? Market on close. The imbalance for the open for the not options, for the futures expiration, for index expiration, was over $7 billion in for an imbalance. I don't remember ever seeing that. I've seen a bunch of times, of course, like over $1 billion. I've seen $2 to $3 billion, I believe. I'm going from recollection, and sometimes it's to the sell side too. But I don't think I've ever seen $7 billion to buy on the open, and then also just on the close. I think there was large numbers too. So that's sometimes just how things are positioned for when futures go out on the open. If that's how the dealers are positioned, and I think that a lot had to be bought as well for the close. Now remember, there's all kinds of pre-positioning that happens. And that's why you saw some things kind of sell off. Like I was reading that Uber was one name that had to be bought, but remember that the brokers they have that information as of last Friday, so they pre-position when somebody knows something has to be bought. They don't wait till Friday. They go ahead and front run, the order legally, right? When you know something has to take place and it's public information, you go ahead and you buy, and then you sell into that strength, which is what you saw in Uber, by the way, at the end of the day. So it's good to kind of give you an example rather than just talk general things. But look at what happened to Uber at the end of the day. Also, look at what happened to Apple at the end of the day, right? So a lot of times with these index rebalances, what happens is they have to buy the losers and sell the winners a bit, right? That brings them back to their benchmark weight, right? Because what's happened in the last quarter? Apple's basically outperformed most stocks, right? So it becomes a higher weight than it should be in most of the ETFs, according to the market cap weight, or if it's an equally weighted ETF, that one variable is price. So as Apple has rallied, once they put the name back to where it should be in terms of a benchmark weight, they actually have to basically sell the names that have done really well and buy some of the names that have done poorly, to get them up to the weight that they should be. So that's a quick minute or two on what transpired today, but really large numbers. What else do I have for the week or for today? So that's kind of the theme of the day: big move, big volume, big move, volume on quadruple witching again, which is expected, but I think a little bit more than normal. So again, when you're analyzing your charts this weekend or the next week, and you see all this volume that happened, I wouldn't get too carried away with it, because literally every name that is traded in an index had big volume, had larger than normal volume. That was kind of one of the takeaways from today. So what so what do we want to start with? And you can see home builders, which lagged all week, they actually outperformed. They were up 1.7% for the week. I think for the overall performance, yeah, that was the best performing sector. Also PBS, which is a ETF that's on my watch list too, which is media names, I believe. Also the agriculture names, which got a lot of attention today. Got long Mosaic, yesterday. Look at this move in Mosaic. You're kidding me, right? 5.3%. So I took a couple targets in this thing. It is now right at the top of value. I mentioned yesterday I got into it and I didn't like the chart because I just don't like charts and downtrends, which Mosaic is in. But you know, so it's a trade. Took some profits in it, and we'll see if this thing can fight through the 200-day moving average. But a lot of names in this group. CF, you got this one better looking above the 200-day moving average. This one was up 4%. BG, I mean the whole group, right? They all look similar, right? So we talked about that a lot. Like that's been one of my ideas to basically position in some of the agriculture names. And it was really nice to see that Mosaic call buyer yesterday because that was exactly what I was looking for, right? So again, when you kind of theorize what you're looking for in trading, right? That's kind of that is the formula, some of the formula that I use, right? I do my research. I know what names I want to get into. I try to think methodically about what what the catalysts are, and then then I read the tape, and when I see call buying in a name that's already on my watch list, something that I was already looking for, then I don't normally hesitate. Now, some names, like I went into Tyson this week too. Tyson did okay today. Not a huge winner, but as much as up 5%, but up 1.2%. Not too shabby, because I think the Chinese are going to have to buy chickens, right? The other one is Sanderson's Farm, which was out with some news about that yesterday. I think that's SAFM. Performing a little bit better. This was a little bit tricky because they just had earnings, but really, really strong in Sanderson Farm, which did announce that they're going to be delivering chicken feet yesterday to the Chinese. So, really nice in that one. Also a name like Gilead, which is, a name that's underperformed, had a big day, especially around the close today. Look at the move. Like Zscaler was another name that we traded today that was up 2.5%. I don't know if it took out the 1 hour VPOC, which is what I was shooting for. No, almost got there. That's where I'm looking to take my. I'm holding a little bit until next week, but overall, I mean, real nice trading, real nice team effort as well in our room. Lulu, we got into right out of the gate. Look at so what attracted me to this one, and we were watching Lulu over the last couple days, but notice how it's kind of just got back above value. I sent that out this morning. And then I think there was simultaneously option activity in it too. But I'll tell you, if you do your homework, there's other people doing their homework too. And that's, again, what I really get excited about when we go ahead and do our homework and someone's doing the same thing and they buy calls in it, and it gives the name, momentum to it. So real nice move in Lulu. I think a leader within the group. Pretty nice. So I want to talk about, here's some of the other names. Microchip, which I think is a hell. I played this one too. I actually traded a lot today. And sometimes the market gives you some really good day trading opportunities. But if you zoom out a little bit, I think Microchip is a pretty quality name and is just trying to break out here. So I traded some. What did I trade? January calls, and I took them all for profits, and I rolled them out a little bit further. So I want to talk about a little bit of trade management, and obviously, there's a few other names. Oh, let me just go over Alley, and then we'll talk about how to kind of manage this rally that we've got on our hands. I wanted to just use this as an example. Alley is probably one of the banks that we've seen the most positioning in. Now, we've certainly seen call buying in other financials, but I was having a conversation with somebody on Twitter about this name because, yes, it saw more call buying today, long-term call buying. But this has been going, like when they started buying Alley calls, it was basically back in here after they reported earnings. My point is, you just have to kind of take some of the option activity with a grain of salt, because you could have went, and again, this is just one example. It's not the case. There's been a ton of option activity that has worked. So it's been a really good signal, I think, especially when this market moving up with momentum, it's kind of helped me stay into some positions and add some new trades. Just noticing, what kind of velocity we've seen with, buying on the tape. But this one in particular, so here's where like I go back and forth about some of these trades that we see on the tape. And you have to remember that they're not always going to be right. And again, I like to point this out so that you can make your own decision and so that you have some experience dealing with this. But, they started buying calls back here, right? Same thing, like January 2021. So that's an opening trade. But you could have, like, if you followed that order a couple months back, right, you're kind of bumming a little bit because you lost money, especially if it was in options. You could have went into any other financial besides the order that hit the tape in that name. Again, I'm talking about months ago, where they bought calls. You could have bought anything in the financials and did better, right? So you not only lost because you picked the wrong stock, but you lost opportunity cost too because your money's tied up in something that wasn't working. So just keep that in mind when you're reading the flow, because I think I'm one of the few who are realistic about what we see on the tape, right? I know everybody thinks that every order is going to work. And again, the option activity overall for the market has been really good, in terms of following, but it just doesn't mean that every trade is going to work. All right, so I like to kind of just give you little bits and pieces of things that I've learned over the years, with reading the tape and so forth. All right, so what do you do with this market, right? I think everybody is. So again, great performance. Do I want to cover anything else? Let me cover. I want to just make sure I'm covering all the bases here. So this is what we put out on the weekend, right? This was as of Sunday, right? I do like to check back when I write and I put out, a video for the weekend for members, if what I'm saying makes sense, or what I said made sense, and if you would have done well. And I think because this will go into what I want to talk about with the overall market. My conclusion was, for now, stay the course in terms of longs. Take more profits when things get a bit too euphoric. Change my mindset when you see equities break down or spot divergences. Be skeptical while sticking to your plan. And the reason why I wrote some of this, because last Friday, so a week ago, right? And keep in mind, here's the performance for the week. Right? SPY was up 1.1%, IWM up 1.6, Qs 2.2%. I received a higher than normal questions in the trading room about what can I short last Friday. And I asked members, and these are all good questions, right? I want these questions, and I want to be able to help. That's what I'm here to do, is to help people, navigate this market, which is, a market that no one has a crystal ball, and no one knows exactly what's going to happen. So you deal with what the facts that you have at hand. So great questions, and this was last week, and I said, well, okay, well, why are you looking to short in the first place last Friday? And I said, what specifically? I said, what's your signal? What is your signal that's telling you that you need to short? Because the market going up is not a signal. That's not a signal to go short. And I try to tell people. Someone asked me in the room too. They said, tell me what puts you want to buy. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? What puts in what? What's your signal? So we're kind of at the same place. So the reason why I'm addressing this again, and I think I have given some really good information last week. Now that we've gone up even further. So again, that's why I did not want to put on shorts, because I didn't have any sell signals last week. I had nothing that said. So again, the best that you could do is manage this process and control what you can control, which is your risk. But it clearly, where the RSI is a bit overbought again. And I think it's natural to start to look, and I think everybody is looking for something that is telling them to short something or to sell, right? Because that's human, behavior, right? Instead of sticking with the trend. It is very difficult to stick with the trend. But I'll tell you, these moves, these rips that we have in the market, is where you can really make money. It's much harder to make money when the market is doing this back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. When it's trending, you just have to stick with the trend. Now, the nice thing about this, if you've been trading over the last couple of years, or even if you just started trading, have we seen this before with the market trending like this and basically swinging up like this? Absolutely. You don't have to go too far back to see it, right? We did this, so it's very, it's very easy. Just take a look at what happened at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. It's the same thing. And I remember receiving the same questions back then. Oh, I need to sell. Tell me what to short. And I'm sorry, selling is different than shorting. But I got the same questions here. You just have to wait until the signal materializes. Right now, of course, in my opinion, I want to continue to be selling more than I'm buying while this is going on. And I reload during the week. You see me put on new positions like Mosaic yesterday. If it's a really nice signal, I'm going to participate. There's no doubt about it. And I think that's what we're still seeing, by the way, is still a lot of signals, are coming, just like the agriculture names. Those names just started firing off this week. So let the signals come to you. Don't force trades, and don't force, basically don't force trades in either direction. Now, of course, you're gonna have to live with when the market stops trending. You're gonna give back a little bit, right? I mean, we could look at this, but if you said this is euphoric, look at how overbought we got. We got to basically an 85. Now, again, I don't know that this is going to play out the same way, but there's lessons to be learned with this, right? You wanted to be sticking with this, not going against the grain. And then once we started to give back, broke some things like the 5-period moving average, this one as well, you're going to give back a little bit of profits if you're going to stay in the game a little bit. It's just part of the process. But would you rather sell here because it's too euphoric, or have to sell here? Right? Because we were overbought in this whole last move up. So just kind of rationalize that a little bit. Stick with it for as long as it lasts, because this is the one thing I know. I know, well, maybe a few things, but one thing I do know is no one knows how long a trend is going to last. No one does. Now, you could look at things and say, okay, things are overbought. You could rationalize and say, okay, I want to be locking in some profits, right? That's something that you have to go through, your own mind and figure out. We also had this move also from, obviously from the end of last year, which was we were talking about that, how crazy the last December 24th was last year. But remember this swing as well. This was a pretty decent swing, and staying with this is where you make your money in the market, is when we're trending. All right, so we'll review that a little bit more. We'll talk about that more in the trading room. But yeah, I mean, you have these lessons from from not too long ago. Like, you don't have to go like 15 years ago and say, oh, this is what happened and it ended badly. You control your risk. You can control when you take it off and so forth. You don't have to worry about it ending badly. Eventually, yes, the market will stop going up. So it all depends on how you're managing the situation. All right, so that's a lot to talk about. I've talked for 19 minutes. Do I want to provide anything that really looked attractive in option activity today? This EUFN, someone looks like they're kind of lotto playing a little bit. I think this was interesting. 48,000 of these out of the money calls traded just for January. So pretty interesting. Also, this TGNA. So here's an example of something that is, to me, is just showing a buy signal, right? Maybe here was probably when it officially did. This wasn't a name that was on my radar. But that's something new. I mean, look at this. How great is this pattern? And it's back into this gap. Let's see what we can find here on the weekly chart too with this. I think the weekly chart looks a lot cleaner. To play, but you're talking about a $17 stock. You don't even have to buy options, right? If you want to try to hold this thing for a little bit, which I enjoy that. I think whenever you could take options out of the equation, something that doesn't depreciate on you. Notice also the consolidation here at this Venom pivot area. So anyway, so that's that. Guys, I'm going to leave it here for the week. I think, a tremendous week with quadruple witching and so forth. Really a fun day to trade. We started off with Lulu. I'm going to show you if you're interested in joining our room and finding what it's all about. Again, I'm here to help. And I think I do a pretty good job. I get some nice positives, which I appreciate those. But you could click on this link on my profile, and it should open up a page, and kind of just tells you what you get. And I will be raising this price next year. I don't think for existing members, but for new members, you won't see that price again because there's just too much that we do that's of value. So you could get it now and you could lock it in. I won't put that out or anything. But anybody who, like, I never do that to people. Like, oh, your membership's going to go up. I kind of grandfather people in a bit. All right, but I will be raising that come 2020. All right, so again, you can just go to my profile page and click on here to join. Hope to see you in the room. Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend. See you on Monday.